But fellas, the moment that I've been officially waiting for, Stephen A. Smith versus Jason Whitlock. Champ, I told you have to watch the entire Stephen A. Smith response to Jason Whitlock. For those who may not know, Jason Whitlock was on Cam Newton's podcast, 4th and 1. And Cam Newton invited Jason Whitlock to give his take on a lot of things about his criticism of Cam, Jason Whitlock's, a lot of other people, and one of them most noticeably ESPN's Stephen A. Smith. He talked about Stephen A. Smith's basketball career, how he lied or exaggerated, that Stephen A. Smith is fraudulent. He brought up that Stephen A. Smith was held back in the 4th grade, which Stephen A. Smith has acknowledged. I just didn't like the fact that he used the R word, which I will not say on the air. I also had a problem with Jason Whitlock when he said, because there was the photo of Stephen A. Smith at the NBA Finals a few years ago, I think, playing solitaire. He thought that Stephen A. Smith is gay. He said, if I catch you at an NBA Finals playing solitaire, I think you're gay and you don't like basketball. He even said it's kind of like catching me playing solitaire at a strip club. And I knew that Stephen A. Smith was going to respond because, after all, it was Jason Whitlock criticizing him. And not only that, it was on Cam Newton's podcast. Cam Newton works for ESPN and comes on twice a week on First Take during the NFL season. And boy, Stephen A. Smith had a lot to say. Calling Jason Whitlock, as always, fat bastard, walrus. How he accused Jason Whitlock of slipping a tape recorder during a conversation that Allen Iverson was having. He mentioned that. He mentioned how he has attacked journalists such as not only Stephen A. Smith, Chris Broussard, Scoop Jackson, Jamel Hill. He also bragged about the suit that he was wearing because God knows Jason Whitlock has no chance in hell, to quote Vince McMahon, off of pulling that suit, and how he's afraid to show off his rotund walrus body. He also pulled out money from his pocket, claiming that's what Jason Whitlock used to do back in the day, going to the strip clubs and making it rain. Even went as far as setting up a GoFundMe account for Jason Whitlock. With fat bastard.
Bro, this was like this.
Never ever pissed a person off that bad.
This, I mean, come on, bro.
It was kind of like Jim Cornette.
This was
excoriating Vince Russo.
This was assaulting. Like, my God.
And Cam Newton got a lot of criticism. Stephen A. Smith, I do agree with Stephen A. Smith and Emmanuel Acho from the standpoint, if you're going to have someone like Jason Whitlock on his show, question him. Don't just allow him to continuously talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you say you have this evidence that Stephen A. Smith lied or exaggerated about his basketball career or anything about his life. Where's the evidence or proof to show that? As Emmanuel Acho said on Speak Easy, love that podcast, there is your truth and there is the truth. Cam, Peggy, the people on 4th and 1, they could have done some research to fact check Jason Whitlock and confront Jason Whitlock with the cold-hearted facts. I didn't like Ryan Clark's response to Cam Newton, even though you can look at it and say, hey, they work in the same network, but at the same time, look, Cam Newton, it's his podcast. It's 4th and 1. He was doing 4th and 1. He was having his own thing long before he ever joined ESPN and collaborated with Stephen A. Smith. I do think, Cam, if you're going to bring in somebody like Jason Whitlock or someone that Stephen A. Smith doesn't particularly like, I'm being generous when I say that, he should have at least given Stephen A. Smith a heads up, telling him, hey, I'm bringing so-and-so on the pod. I know how you feel about this person and vice versa. How do you feel about this? Nevertheless, for anyone to tell Cam Newton who to have and who not to have on his podcast, nah, it's his baby. It's his podcast. Let him operate it how he wants. I saw Champ's reaction on social media. And also, too, another thing that Cam Newton has mentioned and pointed out. He made it clear. He wanted to talk to Jason Whitlock. whether in person or on his podcast. Remember, he had Joy Taylor on his other podcast, Funky Friday.
Yeah.
And Cam made it clear he wanted to talk to Jason Whitlock.
Yeah.
Joy Taylor said, "You'll never see him." And they were having the discussion, of course, when Jason Whitlock brought up Joy Taylor's Big Rack and Peanut Butter Skin, but that's a story for another day. I've said it before with Jason Whitlock. He's the male version of Candace Owens. He is the type of person that a lot of white Republicans and conservatives love to hear, because he will bash and attack people, black people, which he's known for doing. Even though, Champ, to your point, you did mention the Kansas City Star, how he attacked other people, but we can't ignore what he said about Serena Williams. We can't ignore what you said about Colin Kaepernick. We can't ignore what you said about LeBron James. And the other thing that Jason Whitlock really bothers me, and what I have a problem, and I want to be careful because I know BRF and Champ, I have a problem with not all, not most, but some people who label themselves as Christians. Jason Whitlock brings up Christianity a lot, faith and religion. To quote Stephen A. Smith, what has Jason Whitlock done that is considered God's work? Calling Black Lives Matter and Antifa KKK? Remember what happened with Tyree Nichols, the young black man who was killed in Memphis? He blamed single black mothers. Doesn't even think that women should have the right to vote. That's God's work? I don't have a problem with Stephen A. Smith responding, because for so long, Jason Whitlock attacked Stephen A. Smith and chose not to say anything. But I think Stephen A. Smith has reached the point, enough's enough. I also love the fact when Stephen A. Smith said, "You can't fuck with me, Jason. There's levels to this. And yours is as small as a cockroach." Well, I mean, Jason Whitlock, in terms of his career, his career is like an ant. Stephen A's career is just on a entirely different stratosphere. Look, I've had my criticism with Stephen A. Smith about some of the things that he has said, especially about prominent black women like Joy Reid, Jamel Hill, Jasmine Crockett especially. But I've often said, compared to Jason Whitlock, he is a babyface. And I also want Champ to really listen and pay attention, because he has often said on my pod, especially, his greatest fear of all is for anyone to compare him to Jason Whitlock. He said the moment someone compares him to Whitlock, he's done. In other words, he's done with content creation, which I will not allow. I'll get Mama Champ, I'll get Ace on the phone, and I'll convince them to convince Champ not to give up the content creation. Because Champ has worked his ass off. Champ is a good, fair-minded man. For anyone to compare him to Jason Whitlock, that is a testament to just how ignorant and dumb you are, because you don't know this brother. But with Jason Whitlock, you've attacked a lot of people. You attacked people with mental disabilities. You use the R word, racist, misogynistic, and you're accusing people of having feminine energy. Remember, Champ, he was on Patrick Bet-David show, and he was supposed to have a debate with Roland Martin, and his fat ass had to leave that debate because Lord knows, Roland Martin is one of the smartest, brightest, brilliant brothers out there. We know Jason Whitlock's ass has no chance of beating Roland Martin. That's kind of like you always say, Champ, it's kind of like going to Vietnam with a BB gun.
Exactly.
Everything about Jason Whitlock is bullshit. Simple Simon motherfuckers. To quote Denzel Washington from the movie American Gangster. That's who he is. He's as real as Vanilla Ice's bio. He's as real as Vanilla Ice's bio. He's as real as Rachel Dolezal.
Oh man.
That's who Jason Whitlock is, because Jason Whitlock claims that he's this Christian, that he's this brilliant sports journalist. The only person that really will come to Jason Whitlock's defense, it just happens to be one Sage Steele. And we all know how Sage Steele is.
Yeah, and Marcellus Wiley to his credit, you know.
Yeah, Marcellus Wiley to his credit, but yes. But Jason Whitlock, like I said it before, everything about him, and it's obvious, he's so jealous and he's obsessed with Stephen A. Smith. He denies it, but we all know for a fact you can't mess with Stephen A. Smith. You just jealous, bro, because Stephen A. Smith, he's around the same age as you. April of 1967, Jason Whitlock was born. Stephen A. Smith, October of 1967. He's just jealous. It's because he has more personality than you. He has more game than you. He has more money than you. He can afford the right type of studio, the right type of equipment. Jason, I mean, you ain't got that. And on top of that, do you really think people would actually be attracted to your ass? I mean, look, Cam Newton said it best. You ain't that guy. When you were trying to when you talked about Joy Taylor.
You are not helping this matter, BRM. Yeah, I'm trying my best to keep a straight.
Hey, I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking the truth. I am speaking the absolute, undeniable truth. Nobody cannot argue with me on that.
Facts. What do you want me to do? I can't hold it.
Why am I supposed to believe what Jason Whitlock is saying is true? Everything that is coming out of his mouth is true. Like I said before, don't tell me the shit coming from your drawers is chocolate. Or as Bill Walsh said if he was walking through a men's locker room, he'd be whistling "Strangers in Paradise." Jason Whitlock is just so full of shit. And who's the guy on Speak Easy who's around the bar lounge who's standing? The light-skinned brother.
That's his name's Kieran too.
Oh, Kieran.
Brilliant brother.
I follow him on it.
I follow him on his TikTok. His name's Kieran too. Yeah, his name's Kieran.
He said it best. And shout out to our good friend Kieran as well. Knows his football stuff. Please follow him as well. He said it best. Say whatever you want about Stephen A. Smith. People have aspirations to be Stephen A. Smith. Who the hell wants to be Jason Whitlock? Who the fuck wants to be Jason Whitlock? Somebody out on the street? Who really wants to be Jason Whitlock? Who really wants to be associated or affiliated with someone like him? Who really wants to have the type of character like he has? The way that he attacks people, men, women of color. Who really wants to be associated with Jason Whitlock? Unless you some trifling, simple ass motherfucker. I got more to say, but whoever wants to go.
Yo, I'm gonna get your ass after the show. I'm gonna get your ass after this show. I'm gonna get you after this show.
For what? Hey, let me tell you something. PSP out here telling the complete, unadulterated truth. I'll try to keep a straight face, but I'm sorry. Jason Whitlock deserves every insult that comes his way. I can't help it. Jason.
Hell, he makes Uncle Ruckus look like Gandhi.
I'm telling you, make Uncle Ruckus look like Malcolm X, bro. I'm telling you, man. We ain't got Jason. Let me tell you something. Jason Whitlock. Okay, part of me kind of hated that I got the floor first about this, but then part of me kind of liked the fact that I have the floor first when about this. So I'm gonna bring it down a little bit. I'm gonna try to. But here's the thing, though. We gotta be real. We gotta be real about this. At the end of the day, we gotta be real about this. And I mean, because I said it. I said it at the beginning. Anytime. The thing is, I've had my issues with Stephen A. Smith in the past as far as some of the stuff he said, because I feel like he's been kind of showing his true colors a little bit. But every once in a while he kind of has his coming to God moment where he comes back and he remembers who he is, and then he kind of speaks some truth. And I'm sorry, Jason, what's Too Short's favorite word? That's Jason Whitlock. That's Jason Whitlock in a nutshell. He's that. He's fake. He's phony. And me being a Christian myself, me being a Baptist, it's like you see a lot of like these, you see a lot of the people that try to weaponize Christianity and use it in a way where they feel like they can get away with judging certain people where they're from and all this stuff. And me being who I am, and me going through like my upbringing and then growing up, going away from home, going to Statesboro, Georgia Southern, attending that university, seeing the different cultures, seeing the different people, meeting all walks of life. You learn stuff not only about yourself, not only about other people, but most importantly about yourself, as far as like how you were and how you should be in order to further progress in your life to be a better person. And a lot of the friends I made at Georgia Southern University helped me become a better person, because when you're raised up in that life, you can be judgmental, and sometimes you can kind of live with like you can live with a bit of like tunnel vision and not necessarily see from other people's perspective. But then when you sit down and you really talk to people and you learn and you learn and you listen to people and you get their perspectives, you understand. And then you can just kind of take that, you mold it with your person, you kind of mold some of that into your personality, and it makes you a better person. So when I see people like Jason Whitlock kind of weaponize that against other people, it makes me sick. It does. It makes me sick from the standpoint of you look at how, if you grew up into that and you read the Bible and you went to church and you know the type of person that God was, like this stuff that is going on nowadays, seeing people weaponize their religion against others, bro. Let me tell you something. He would probably want to come down and just smack the taste out of every single one of their mouths, because it's like, no, this ain't how it's supposed to be. This ain't how it's supposed to be. This is turning water into wine. This is a loaf of bread and fish to 5,000 people. This is rubbing mud in a blind man's eyes to help him see. Like none of those miracles that he performed for other people is in any way, shape, or form a testament as far as like what's going on today, as far as like what people say and how people talk and how people act. And it's just crazy to me how like somebody like Jason Whitlock has a platform, has all these people listening to him, following him, and then just has the, hate to steal a phrase from Stephen A. Smith, but to just flat out have the unmitigated gall to go out there and just say some of this ridiculous nonsense and then believe it. Like have conviction in it and believe it. And it's wild to me, because we being who we are, coming up in the sports talk game ourselves, having this podcast, doing this on a weekly basis, having goals for ourselves, having aspirations to be better than where we are right now. We see people like him and it's like, bro, I'm gonna need you to get the hell out the way, because you're not about to drag us down as far as what we want to be in the future. You got to move. You know what I'm saying? You get in your own lane, you stay over there. We got our own lane and we want to be 10 times better than you, because we come with it genuine, we come with it real, and we come with it the way we supposed to. And part of that is not judging anybody just because of how they look or how they feel or how they talk or how they act. That wasn't, and the damn sure wasn't how I was raised. And I just see people acting like that, and it lessens hope for humanity with a lot of these people. So when I meet good people and I talk to them and I learn and I see how genuine that they are, it kind of brings some of that hope back. Jason Whitlock does not do that. He doesn't do that for me at all. If anything, like it, if anything, it makes me feel good about myself, because I know one thing for certain: when I pass him, that's a low ass bar, because that ain't nothing worth passing. We'll pass him and keep it pushing. That ain't nothing worth selling. Passing Jason Whitlock in the eyes of people as far as like who you are as a journalist and all that other stuff, that's not an accomplishment because he ain't shit. He ain't nothing. He's nothing. It's wild to me. It's wild to me how people can really be the way they are and like just kind of just have conviction in their feelings, and it's just the whole thing is just misconstrued, and it's so twisted and just so taken for a loop, like just so many meanings of words and all this other stuff just been misconstrued and are now just here to represent a certain thing when it doesn't even mean that at all, like woke, speaking of a word that's been misconstrued and twisted and pulled and tugged into so many different things that it feels like it's lost its complete meaning. We know what that word really means. We know what that word means, and they just use it in such a context that just misconstrues the whole point of the word in the first place. But
Look, it tells you something. Look, when Nick Fuentes of all people is calling you a token,
Nick Fuentes, of all people, calling you a token, and we know how fake and how evil Nick Fuentes is. When he's
that should tell you
calling,
all you need to know.
that should tell you all you need to know about what type of person Jason Whitlock is. For my sake, and hopefully for his sake, I don't know what it's going to take, what type of actor guy it's going to take for him to see some type of light. But Jesus, like, let me tell you something. That brought joy to my heart. Seeing Stephen A. Smith do that. I wanted to put.
He
I think
him.
I think on one of the videos somebody literally put the ether beat behind it because that's how bad it was. I mean, talking about your ratings, talking about his ratings, and I mean everything Stephen A. Smith was saying was the truth. Jason Whitlock don't hold a candle to that man. And like I said, I've had my issues with Stephen A. and some of the stuff he said recently. But you know what? At the end of the day, at least one of them remembers he's a black man. At least one of them remembers that. I mean, we know. I try my hardest. I try my hardest not to think of insults for that man. I try my hardest to be nice and respectful. I try my hardest.
I apologize for being too graphic. Jason Whitlock just can't stop obsessing. Jason Whitlock just can't stop obsessing about Stephen A's dick.
Bro, he stay on it 24/7. Let's just keep it on it. He stay on it 24/7. I mean, honestly, he ought to. Let me tell you something. He ought to bring a spend the night bag. He ought to
And
pack
he's
a
talking
lunch.
about
He ought to
people,
bring
and
some
he's
shoes. He ought to bring some shoes. I'm surprised.
well, some thong underwear,
Boy,
some shit.
I'm at this point. I'm surprised homeboy don't have a hotel key at this point. The way he stay on that man. That's just all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Bring $40. Like do something.
Hotel. His ass is probably gonna stay at a motel.
Like boy, like Motel 6. Somebody need to keep the light on for real. I'm just saying. Like it's
But like I said, man, I just get offended and annoyed when he brings up God. BRF and you, champ, you talk about, you always bring up God, you always bring up, and when I hear it from y'all, it's genuine. But when I hear it from Jason Whitlock, what is it about him that is genuine? Tell me, what is it about him that is genuine? What, the fact that you known for going to the strip club and try to flirt with all these women, which you couldn't even mac? That all them women probably said no to your fat ass? That's what it seems like.
That man he probably didn't even have no real bills to make it rain. He probably had some rolled up. He probably
what,
brought
them
some
Usher
rolled
bills?
up. He probably took some rolled up coins up in there and made it hell. That's probably what he did. He made it hell. He didn't make it rain. He made it hell. I mean, he definitely didn't make it snow. He ain't that smooth. He made it hell is what he did.
This is why we're called the highlight of Friday nights, people.
I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying,
big fella, the floor is yours.
Okay, first and foremost, but I gotta say this, number one. PSP is absolutely right. I've always said ever since I was in BRF, I've always said these to you when we first met. I said, look, man, being compared to him was my worst fear of sports journalism. I said the day that somebody compared, I said the day that I start to sound like that or anybody compares me to that, it's time for me to leave the game. It's time for me to quit. I said I'd never pick up another mic again because that's probably the worst thing that could happen because I don't think he's fair. I'm gonna be nice about it this evening because I think we got the mean parts. I don't think he's fair, and I don't think
I
he's
have more, but go ahead.
I don't think he's fair. Let's sweeten up this coffee before you throw it on him. But
Listen, I have more hot takes for him than he has with Meals, but go ahead.
man, ain't nothing wrong with a good meal. But anyway, had me a good one for the show start. But anyway, low carb by the way. Anyway,
It wasn't him, but go ahead.
but I'll say this. He talks about being a Christian, but I always say this. Let's go to the book of Proverbs. And it says the book of Proverbs likens gossip to delicious morsels, a tasty treat that promise delight to those who indulge. That's what gossip is to people. Those who can't entertain themselves, they have to entertain themselves with other people and their problems. That's the thing. And look, it's very, very easy to talk about somebody when you're not as successful as they are. It's very, very easy to get jealous. Very easy. This happens every day. You could be doing the same thing as somebody else. And guess what? They might have more followers than you. They may have more of a backing than you. Somebody might put some money behind them, and you get jealous of that. The thing is, you just didn't play your cards right in order to be in that position, which you was once in that position in order to be great. I never forget seeing Jason Whitlock on Who's Number One on Sports Center. I remember reading some of his articles from the Kansas City Star when he was criticizing Bill Peterson, Marty Schottenheimer in the front office. I remember all of that. My father used to sit me down, and I used to read articles from him and a lot of other journalists. So I remember reading those articles, and they wanted to run him out of town with picket signs out of Kansas City because of the way he was criticized, especially for them not winning a Super Bowl. But the thing is, you're supposed to be talking about sports, but instead you talk about everything but sports. That's my problem. You're not talking about sports. You're not giving any critiques sports-wise. You're not getting anything sports-wise. You're just giving a lot of hot takes that really don't mean anything. I think that's what's killing sports right about now. A lot of hot takes and no substance to go behind it. Like he was like, oh yeah, I believe you should have cut your hair. What good does that do? What good does it do? People are going to criticize you regardless. And he spoke about Michael Jordan on that interview. Michael Jordan cut his hair. He had a bald head. He always had a suit. Everything else. He never mentioned politics or anything like that. Guess what? He was criticized for never mentioning politics on both sides.
Hey, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Exactly. So he was criticized on both sides. That's just by black folks, but by the other side as well. So he was criticized by both sides. He was not only criticized for that, but he was also criticized. Remember the Nike controversy over, over the sweatshops that they had over there in China? He said once the season was done, that he would personally make sure that everything is copacetic, and he never had a chance in order to do it because of all the stuff that was going on during the off season when he first retired. Yeah, you're gonna get criticized regardless. So to Cam's point, why not be yourself? I don't have a fake ass image to sell anybody. And as Allen Iverson and Cam Newton and all of those guys have proved, I can be more of a product selling myself, being myself, that is, than trying to sell someone a fake facade of myself. That's the thing. I will say this, though. I think that Cam should have been a little bit more careful with having him on the show because I'm not going to lie. Maybe I have loyalty issues, but if I know that one of my guys, whether they be UPSP, whether it be UBRF Flash, if they beefing with somebody, I can't allow you on my show, bro. I don't care how
No,
cool you are.
no.
I can't.
Actually, champ, I don't have a problem with it because at the end of the day, it's your pod. You
Yeah,
get to
but
determine it how
that's my
you see
loyalty.
fit.
But that's my loyalty. That's my loyalty talk. I can't have you on my platform, especially when I know that there is a chance that you're going to say something about somebody who I care about.
Fair enough.
You know, I read, and then I'm not going to take too kindly of the words that you may or may not say. That's just the thing. And that's just me. Like I stated, that's me being me. Like I said, if I know one of y'all got a problem with someone, regardless of how big their platform is, especially if my platform is bigger, our platform is bigger than theirs. Sorry about that, BRL. If I know that we're bigger than they are, then guess what? Why in the hell would I bring them on there knowing that there's a chance? Number one, you finna get all type of free publicity, number one. Why would I give you that position? Number two, guess what? My audience may get to your side and start following you. Why would I want to give you that? And like I stated, there's a chance that you might say something about one of my people that I don't necessarily appreciate you saying about them. Like I said, I really don't care what people say about myself, outside a few things, but you start saying stuff about people I care about, then we got a problem. Because number one, keep them out of that. That ain't got nothing to do with what's going on here face to face or computer to computer. So to Ryan Clark's point, I understand that. Because you run the risk of somebody saying something derogatory about someone, and you run the risk of saying, hey, man, I brought you here, man. Why you sitting around here, having guys on your platform like that, knowing that this dude might say something crazy about it. But to Cam's credit,
He brought up Carmelo.
yeah. But to Cam's credit, hey, he bought him here because of the things that he was saying about Cam, not necessarily to
Stephen A.
amplify
Smith,
the
which was
Stephen A.
Cam's
Smith.
real objective. He made it
Cam's-
clear that, he made it clear because I'm sorry to cut you off, champ. The only reason why he brought Jason Whitlock on the show is because of Jason Whitlock's criticism of Cam regarding his play, especially his outfits. Now, champ, I do agree, but I think first of all, it is Cam's show, but I do think Cam should have given Stephen A. Smith a heads up, letting him know, hey, I'm gonna bring so and so on my pod. How do you feel about this? Cam should have asked as much questions though. When Jason Whitlock was making these claims, okay, Jason, where's your proof? Where's the evidence that Stephen A. Smith lied or exaggerated about his basketball career? Where is the proof or evidence? Because he still keeps claiming that to this day. And he's claiming that Stephen A. Smith is lying. He's talking about the truth. Jason, what about you is truthful?
I will say this.
Tell me.
Look, if you put all of that damn energy into trying to bring somebody else down, what are you really trying to do at the end of the day? That's the thing. I'm not going to do all this research on someone who I ain't making money with or anything. And with this whole Stephen A., with Jason Whitlock versus Stephen A., it's really a one-sided beef if you really want me to be honest with you. It's kind of like a dog barking and howling at the moon. And that's how come Stephen A. only respond to him like twice. It's just like a dog barking and howling at the moon. Now the dog don't even know why he barking and howling at the moon. The moon don't care half the time. He can't shut the moon off. He can't touch the moon. The moon just sit there and it shines. That's just the thing. I wouldn't even. The thing is with these guys, I think you know me better than any. Y'all two know me better than. When people get to trolling on the internet, I don't even respond. I laugh. I say thank you I thank them for their opinion. Thank you for your opinion. I appreciate that. I ain't finna you even get me bad. For what? I don't know you. So that's the thing. I really don't even respond to people on the internet unless they got a valid point they want to say. Then we can have a little back and forth about sports banner, and then I thank them for their opinion and they move on. But I wouldn't even respond. I'm gonna let you talk because the fact that you have to talk about me every time in order to get ratings says a hell of a lot more about your POS TV show, your POS podcast, and your POS demeanor. And when I say POS, I am not talking about point of sale. So that's just it. The whole Jason Whitlock situation, I really feel like this. Number one, you are attacking everybody, not about sports, but about agendas that you deem. We haven't looked. Cam brought up a valid point. Nobody tells Trevor Lawrence to cut his hair. Are we going to sit around here and tell Trevor Lawrence that we're not in the good old days anymore, where long hair was considered hippie-ish? We see executives now with long hair. Major executives, black and white. All of that, I'm going to cut my hair doing all that. That doesn't apply anymore. It's gone. And the thing is, like I said, be yourself. The worst thing that people hate is a phony. I would rather for you to be hated for who you are than for be loved than what you are not. And Jason, man, I'm going to just be real bad. Stop giving us big dudes a bad name, bro. You be making us look horrible with all of that old bull jive rhetoric that you be doing.
Mm-mm.
That is
Tell me about
nasty.
it.
You talk about all types of stuff. It's weird at a certain point.
Weird.
It's
It's
weird.
just
It's weird
insane. Did you hear what he said about Michael B. Jordan?
Again, like I said, it's weird at a certain point. It's weird.
No, champ, come on. You got on a lot of people on social media, rightfully so. When Josh Allen won the MVP award, when they said the DEI award, you were furious.
Because Michael Jordan winning the Oscar, DEI Oscar.
Well,
How the fuck is that DEI when he was
Again.
widely anticipated to win it?
Again, everybody was clamoring. Everybody on every side was clamoring about Michael B. Jordan winning that Oscar. Everybody was talking about it. And it's just so, like I stated, and what pisses me off when people use the word DEI, especially when you got idiots like Kid Rock and Jason Whitlock talk about DEI, is number one.
Yeah, Hillbilly Vanilli.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't have said.
Thank you. You from Detroit. You from Detroit, homeboy. You shot that guy. You shot that dude in
Well, he's not really
USA
from.
thing.
He's not exactly from
the. Bad. One of the guys corrected us to one of the. He's from
TikTok.
He's from Romeo, Michigan.
The way you're not from the South. You're not from Mississippi
he's from
or
a
Alabama
town
or anything.
Wait, whoa. He's from a town called Romeo, Michigan?
Yeah, Romeo, Michigan.
That's even worse, bro.
Yeah, one of the guys corrected us in the comments when we were talking. I was like, oh, shit, how did he know that? But yeah. But
Romeo?
He was the DEI of hip-hop because remember, D-Nice, all of these guys was vouching for him, and you still couldn't sell over 50,000 copies of your first record. Your first real blow-up didn't happen until 2001 when, that the machine got behind you with TRL and all of those guys. So, yeah. So when people use that term, and that's the reason why I get so ticked off when people use the term DEI. Like, learn what that means. Learn what it means. And again, when you're the most qualified for the job, it's no such thing. It's not. That's not DEI. Michael B. Jordan was the most qualified. And the thing is, look, I follow Michael B. Jordan. I remember Michael B. Jordan from The Wire. I remember that. I remember him on the soap operas. Remember the soap operas that used to come out about my children and all that? I remember him being on. I remember him being on Hardball with G-Baby.
Yes.
I remember that. So he is an aspiring actor. And so for him to win that in a horror movie and for it to take place like that, it's just like, come on, man. I don't know what it is about.
For him to win it as young as he still is, he's still only 38.
He's only 38. He's the new. I know you push back on this a lot. I asked him, is he the new Denzel? I really think that he has the potential to be.
He has the potential.
He has the potential.
He has. That's what. Yeah, I'm like he has the potential because he finally has that. He has that established. Well, he's had a lot of really, really good movies now. Don't get it twisted. Like Fruitvale Station. He had the Creed movies. People, man, we still talk about him as Killmonger in Black Panther, how good of a role that was. He finally has that. Like for me with Sinners, like because like with Den, like when you look at Denzel, like he had glory almost like right out the gate. So he had something that put him in Academy Award talks like from the jump. And for me, this is finally his for Mike. Even though he, like I said, he had Fruitvale Station, he had Creed. Like even with Creed, with the first one, it wasn't him getting the award talk. It was Sylvester Stallone who ultimately won Best Supporting Actor for the first Creed.
Mm-hmm.
So this was finally the role for him to really like say, yeah, I'm like one of the best in the world at this. And the fact that some people were even saying like his performance was overrated. I'm like, bro, this man literally played 3 roles. He was Smoke, he was Stack, and he was Stack as a vampire. This man literally played 3 roles and nailed every single one of them. So what in your right mind got you thinking he wasn't, in my opinion, clearly the best performance of the year? And he beat out good performances. Don't get me wrong. I still want to see One Battle After Another with Leonardo DiCaprio. I want to see that movie. But even still, like what he did in Sinners, what he did for that role was like he made it his.
Yeah.
And because because like I think like the big rumor that's going around, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman, if
Mm-hmm.
he was alive, this was supposed to be them two.
Yeah.
So just think about the added pressure putting on Michael B. Jordan. Honestly, I feel like as good as if Chadwick Boseman was still alive, as good as that movie would have been with him, I think the idea and the premise behind this movie with Michael B. Jordan playing twin brothers made it that much better because it was unique and it was just something that stood out from the rest. And I think Michael B. Jordan playing twins made the whole premise of the movie like even that much better. And to pull it off the way he did, like I don't even see why people are even trying to downplay this man as how good he was.
Because that's Jason Whitlock. And back to Jason Whitlock, he is a absolute contrarian. He will say and do whatever to take away and tarnish Black people. Fair or unfair, that's just who he is. That's his reputation. And I call him the male version of Candace Owens because, like Candace Owens, she used to say a lot of crazy shit about Black people. Jason Whitlock is that.
Yeah.
And I can't. And when Jason Whitlock, given his history, the things he has said about Black people, how the way he has attacked women, Jamel Hill, Katie Nolan of ESPN, Remember Champ, Maria Taylor,
Yeah.
bashing people, Scoop Jackson, Chris Broussard, Stephen A. Smith. Remember when he tried to have the undefeated. Remember.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to recruit Tanahashi Coates, Jamel Hill, Howard Bryant, Stephen A. Smith. All of them were like, hell no. Because they know deep down Jason Whitlock's true colors.
Yeah.
To Stephen A. Smith's point, have you seen Jason Whitlock in actual NBA games, professional games since? No, because they can't trust him. And they know for a fact they're waiting to confront him. Because they know what type of shady person he is. I mean, we're not going to forget the things you said about Kobe Bryant before he passed away. We're not going to forget that.
Yeah.
We're not going to forget. Remember, you called Kobe Bryant the most fraudulent superstar we have ever seen.
Then discredited Magic Johnson for saying he's the greatest Laker ever.
Yeah, he did.
Then discredited him for saying he's the greatest Laker ever. What's the problem with that is you can't. It did try to switch up his story after the late great one died. So that's the thing, man. Like I said, it's about being consistent, not being phony. And the thing is, if all the thing you have to say is gossip, is that really godly? Because the Bible teaches against gossip. That's just being real. That's just being real. You haven't had anything legitimate to say since since you left ESPN. It's just been a lot of bashing.
Nobody wants him.
I mean,
And eventually, sooner or later, he's Glenn Blake's the Blaze. They're going to move on from him.
exactly.
ESPN, they moved on from him. Fox, they moved on from him.
Yeah.
Outkick, they moved on from him.
Yeah.
Heck, he moves on from jobs just like he moves on from his diets.
Again.
Jason Whitlock has look.
Mm.
I'm sorry, Champ. I have a lot to say. He, to me, I don't like using the term with Jason Whitlock, but when I watch him talk, hearing him talk, he's a cancer. He is a cancer to me because someone who has aspirations of being a content creator, whether sports journalist or something, he's a cancer because he is not somebody that you should look at and say, hey, this is who we want to be. He is the exact opposite. And he just gives people bad names. He gives black people bad names. He gives big people like y'all bad names.
Looking like a
He gives
stretched out
content
Tootsie
creators
Roll.
bad names. Who wants to be Jason Whitlock? Who in your mind really has aspirations to be Jason Whitlock? Who wants to look at themselves in the mirror and say, yeah, I want to be Jason Whitlock. I want to have this biblical truth. I'm going to go on the mic and I'm going to say a lot of derogatory things about people of color, black women, black men, saying all these things. I mean, look, man, he cannot stop. And I'll say it again. As graphic as it sounds, he just can't get off Stephen A. Smith's dick.
Looking like healthy roadkill.
He can't stop riding his dick.
Shoot. Chill out, bro. Chill out. Man, look, the reason I keep saying chill out is this, man. I'm gonna just be real.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta get this off my chest, but damn, hey, I look, man.
BRF, you can attest to this because we know we the big boys on this thing. You can attest to this. You all know that big dude who always thought that him making a lot of money was just gonna unlame him for a fact or so.
And it made him worse.
And that made that motherfucker. Damn, my bad.
Made him 5 times worse.
It made him worse than ever. And that's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of that dude. Well, not just even a big dude. He reminds you of that lame guy from school. And lame is look, before I go into being lame is a state of mind. Lame ain't about the music that you listen to. It ain't the way you dress. It ain't the way it's about how you
It's how you present yourself.
It's how you present yourself. And I'm not talking about the clothes you got on there. I'm talking about the way that people receive you, the way that you respect yourself, the way that other people respect you, or whatever. Because you can listen to, bop, pop bop, and still be respected. So it ain't about everything else. He just reminds me of one of those guys who made a lot of money and thought that was going to change everything, and thought that was going to be his verdict and be his way out. And that thought that it was going to change people's opinion, that thought that he was going to, move opinions about himself, and it didn't work. And it's just like journalism is my way out. But at the end of the day, you never amounted to anything as far as your peers were concerned. Scoop Jackson, well respected. I'm going to quote the Ultimate Warrior. God rest his soul, Jim Hellwig. There was a promo that he did against Ted DiBiase. He said, all the money in the world can't buy what it takes to be a champion. And the world don't sing your praises because of C notes. That was one of the most crazy, that was one of my favorite promos by the Ultimate Warrior. And he just reminded me of one of those dudes that really thought that status and money was going to change the way. And Cam brought up a good point. He was like, hey, did you not wear nice suits when you was on?
Man was wearing fedoras.
He was wearing a fedora. Had a little bling in his ear. What have you? He was doing stuff like that as well. And the thing is, look, I keep my hair cut low. all the time. Probably because I've just been doing it all my life as a habit right about now. Been doing this since I was a child. But the thing is, that does not define who you having a low haircut and having a suit on. It's not going to make people look at you any different, regardless. If people are going to, this is the age of narrative now more than ever. If people are going to hate you, the hell, Warren Moon and Doug Williams had low haircuts. They wore suits everywhere they want. They were still hated. So at the end of the day, guess what? If you're going to sit around here and criticize me when I look the part, I can just imagine what you're going to do. I might as well just not even try at this point to fit the narrative that you want me to fit, because you're going to look down upon me anyway. Those guys will look down upon still. They had the low haircuts. They had the suits. They had everything going on. They were still looked down upon. Randall Cunningham as well. They got strongly criticized. So all of this narrative about, and I never did get the whole gimmick, the way Cam Newton dresses. What the hell does that have to do with, number one, his knowledge of the game? What does that have to do with the fact that he won an MVP? He's a legend in the NFL. He knows what he's talking about as far as sports is concerned. I will say that much. Because there's been a lot of outlandish shit that he said outside of the sports realm. I look at Cam like, boy, your mob ain't deep enough for you to be talking about that. Well, your mob is deep. That's why you need to stop talking about it. But I digress. But with Cam, he's a well-respected ball player. A lot of guys grew up wanting to be Cam. He got recruited by Florida. He won a national championship in the Heisman at Auburn. He's well-respected. So what is hair going to change the fact that he's not respected anymore? No. Is his dress? And the thing is, it's the craziest thing about it. People always criticize the way Cam Newton dress. Every time I see him, he has on a shirt, tucked in his pants. He has a pair of loafers on. He has a tie on, whether that be a bow tie or a real tie. He looks like a preppy, he looks like he goes to Harvard, and he just added a little swagger to it. He looks like he goes to an Ivy League school. The only thing that he does is dress up in polo and put a hat on and put a jersey on to pay homage to the great players of all time, and that's what he does. That's the only thing that he does. It's always shirt, tie. Never seen him wear a t-shirt. So just because you don't like the way he dresses, oh yeah, that's immature. I don't like the way he dressed. Look at his hair. We're not in the damn 60s anymore. This is not the hippie age. And that does not take away his knowledge. That does not take away from the hot takes that he has had, that he's been right on the money about, by the way. And that does not take away from his illustrious career in the NFL. And if you have to nitpick, and at this point, I'm going to just be real. If you have to nitpick at this point in time, it's 2026. If you have to nitpick in order to find something wrong, you just digging for peanuts at this point. Because Cam didn't get his coach fired. Cam wasn't in trouble with the media or off the court or off the field. He wasn't in trouble. He wasn't getting in trouble. He wasn't doing all that other nonsense. The only two things that you could really say about Cam is the way of how people kind of fed him a lot of crow when it came to Mr. Richardson, the late, great Mr. Richardson, and how, he was involved in that scandal. And Cam said, well, damn, I feel some type of way because he's the one who drafted me and brought me here.
And the comments, the sexist comments about the female reporter, it's funny to hear female talk about routes.
He lost, and he paid the consequences and lost that endorsement as a result, and he accepted accountability.
With Gannon. Yep.
So, yeah, he lost it. He's like, yeah, I deserve it. Yes, I shouldn't have said that, and that's what it is. But the thing is, okay, I don't like the way you dress. Okay. I got a shirt and a tie on and a suit on, and my shirt is tucked in my pants. Was that not the dress code growing up? They told you in corporate America, you was going to have a shirt a tie, slacks, shirt tucked in your pants, and a pair of good shoes on, not tennis shoes, good shoes. Only thing he did is just grew his hair out and put a hat on. He's
By
no
the way, champ, I've told you before, and one of the reasons why you've mentioned the reason why I grew up admiring and idolizing Allen Iverson, because even though there were things in his life he should have handled differently, he, at the end of the day, he became himself. And more importantly, he destroyed the narrative. Well, just because you don't wear a suit and tie, that means you're unprofessional or that means you're a thug. No. And look, we've seen a lot of people wearing suits and ties in court.
thugs in the damn industry. And the thing is, look, I'm gonna take it back even further. The myth that your hair had to be cut damn low and you had to do all of that your hair had to be cut low and you couldn't have an afro, you couldn't do none of this. That myth should have been debunked by one person. And it wasn't even Allen Iverson. It should have been debunked by Dr. J. Everybody wanted to be like Dr. J. Yes, he was elegant. He wore his shoots and tie. But guess what? He had a damn afro this big. Did disco and everything. Well-spoken black man. Well-spoken man in general. But the whole world looked up to him. If you go back and look at the hidden documentaries, not the bull job that they're erasing and editing now, but the true documentary of the ABA that was made, a lot of the reason why they wanted to merge is they wanted to bring Julius Erving to the NBA.
Because of his personality and what he meant both
and
on and off the court.
Yes, and because of his appeal to what? Middle America. Remember the Dr. Chapstick commercials?
Yes.
So all of that should have been debunked back then when you saw Julius Erving, who Middle America wants their kids to be like, when he had a big-ass afro that was out here and he had a certain tie on. That myth should have been debunked then. Now, as he got older, he cut his hair eventually. But he had at his prime, at his peak, he had the biggest afro in the world, and everybody wanted to be like him. Everybody described his professionalism, everybody described his elegance, and everybody described how great of a man that he was, both on and off the court.
And he was peaceful. Look,
exactly.
Larry Bird, it took Larry Bird to get every bit of Dr. J to take a swing at him.
Exactly.
Because Dr. J is known for being peaceful.
Yeah. So that myth should have been debunked with him. You got that does not how I dress ain't got, like I said, guys was wearing bell bottoms in there. Go back and look at it. Dr. J had some of the disco outfits on. That never took away from the respect that his peers in Middle America and in the inner city had for him. Everybody still respected it. So the thing is, all of that is debunked at this point. It's just nowadays we want to nitpick. We want to nitpick. Well, yeah, I don't like it. You must be immature. You're weighing that. Okay. It's just nitpicking. Like I said, it's all about narrative at this point. And I don't think that should take away. And you're talking to a guy, and I brought this up before, you're talking to a guy that wore ties to school. I was the first person on my block with a polo bear tie. I was the first person wearing that shit to school. My father dressed me up in those ties and loafers and saddle lace-ups, all of the stuff that, big ups to him, Andre 3000 was wearing in the early 2000s. And he had a whole clothing line about it. Matter of fact, did you know that the shit that Cam Newton wears, the majority of it comes from Ralph Lauren? All of that is from the black label and the purple label. All of that comes from Ralph Lauren. Everybody's modeling those suits. So it's crazy when people say, well, he doesn't dress right. He's dressing just like the models do in those polo catalogs.
But we all know the very obvious why. And back to Jason Whitlock, like I've said before, you are what you are. To say that you're not obsessed or jealous, or to say that you haven't had a history of not attacking black people. It's just a lie. No one has aspirations of being Jason Whitlock.
Exactly.
Stephen A. Smith, say whatever you want about Stephen A. Smith. Still, there's aspirations to be him. Hell, look what he's done for HBCUs. He's still look, he just recently went to Seton Hall University, which is in South Orange, New Jersey, where I live. Not too far away. If you actually drive from my house to there, it's about like 10 minutes away. Gives speeches, does a lot of things in the community. Do I agree with a lot of things that he says, especially with the politics? Hell no. But there's still aspirations to be him because of what he means to the community. Jason Whitlock, what has he done that you look at and you say, wow, I want to be him. I have aspirations. I have goals to be like him. He's known for attacking people. And the reason why he's saying all this stuff is because that's his only way to be relevant. Because he doesn't really give good sports takes. We don't really hear much sports takes. Matter of fact, even when he gives sports takes, there are bad ones. Remember, Champ, I sent you. Remember the Giants versus the Broncos game? He blamed Jackson Dart for the Giants losing that game against the Denver Broncos. And bringing up Jackson Dart with his big chain or whatever type of jewelry he was wearing. What does that have anything to do with the fact that they lost the game?
Nothing.
And the fact with Jason Whitlock, with your character, you question people with the man of faith. You have the nerve to question Deion Sanders' faith, but you bring in Brett Favre of all people on your show, knowing what Brett Favre was accused of. Brett Favre was accused of stealing welfare funds in Mississippi. You bring him on his show. Even Brett Favre is looking at you like, dude, why you got a problem with Prime?
Sometimes I really want to ask this question because, you know, I'll say this, there was always a bickering process with me and, you know, people who you care about, right? Do you think it's a question of sometimes it's black and white, or is it a question of young and old? Because I'll never forget, people used to, because you could attest to this, BRF, especially from us being in the Bible Belt, right? Older people always say, you know, you have to predict yourself this way, that way. And we're looking at them at times like, no, that doesn't matter at a certain point. Because people are going to criticize you anyway. You might as well just do whatever the hell you want to.
Exactly.
Because the thing is, you know, yeah, they're going to, even when you have a suit on, they're going to have something to say about this blank word in a suit or whatever. Who does he think he is? Or who does she think she is? Or even to a certain extent, who do they think they are wearing a suit like that? So do y'all think it's a question really of black and white when it comes to guys like Jason Whitlock and, you know, many other journalists that are just like him, whether they be on the conservative side or the other side?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's a matter of black and white or just young and old?
Absolutely, Race. Because when you have a history the way that he does, it's a pattern. It's pretty obvious. When you have a reputation of saying the stuff about people of color, it's pretty obvious. And when Nick Fuentes is taking the time to call you a token, knowing how insane he is, for him of all people to say that, you said it yourself, champ, you couldn't have said it any better, is one thing from your own community to say that about you. It's entirely another thing if someone outside your community says that about you. Essentially, what does that tell you? It tells you how fucked up and shady you are as a human being.
It tells me I'm not going to trust the opinion of anybody who looks like a shrunken head voodoo doll. But that's another conversation.
Yeah, but I've always asked that question, is a question of black and white or really young and old? Because like I said, a lot of the older guys in our neighborhood, like I said, BRF, you know, we from the
But you're right,
outside,
though.
we always used to always say, how come you young boys ain't got a suit on? Especially when, you know, when the throwbacks was out, we used to wear the throwbacks a lot. Y'all boys lost the art of wearing suits. Why y'all got all that hair on? You got the low haircut. And No, there was a lot. No,
Yeah,
but
no, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. No,
a
you're
lot
right.
of
You're right.
questions of young and old. It wasn't necessarily black and white. It was a question of young and old. It was just like the old men, the older men that was around, they always believed that you should have your shirt tucked in your pants. You always should have a low haircut. You always should have your good clothes on, your good shoes on. You ain't supposed. Only time you should be
Like
wearing tennis
and
shoes,
I could.
and the only time you should be wearing tennis shoes. Remember, our dads used to tell us that, hey man, the only time you need to be wearing them tennis shoes is when you go into the pickup game at 21, man. Always keep you a good pair of shoes in the back of your ride, because you never know when a game of 21 gonna break out, man. But other than that, don't be wearing all that other stuff, man. You want to make sure you present. A lot of people think that's black and white, but I can attest to this myself. It's a case of a lot of times of young and old. It's just like the older guys, they want you to present yourself like this. But the thing is, you try to tell them that the world that you may have grew up in, it doesn't exist anymore.
And my
And
father was the same way as well. I mean, he would tell us to cut our braids, cut our hair and stuff, have the little haircut. But I think, and yes, that I understand from the old young thing. But I think for us nowadays, and thank God I can rock the braids however I want now, is because now we are evolving. We are changing, and look, we don't, just because we wear braids and stuff, that doesn't necessarily mean we're unprofessional. Larry Fitzgerald,
Exactly.
he has braids. He has dreads. Does he need to change his image?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's then that's what I was kind of getting ready to say too. I think I like this is I think this is kind of one of those things where it's like kind of like two things can be true as well, because I think it's also a part of just like the evolution as far as like us as a species, as far as just like yeah, because like but Champ's right though about though keep your shirt tucked in,
Yeah.
have a suit ready for Sunday, keep your hair low, or
yeah,
like make sure you're doing everything, keep yourself clean, the wash your face, brush your teeth, all that other stuff, all the necessities, like keep make yourself presentable at all times. I think it's really just more like it's but then like I said, y'all both are right, because I think it is a racial thing as well, from the standpoint of certain looks, like the braids and the baggy pants and all that. It's like it's trying to offset the negative connotation that comes with that, and I feel like today, the generation of today is really trying to like kind of offset that. And honest to God, that's a good thing, because like I feel like the look itself shouldn't necessarily make the person. It should be the person that kind of stands. He should stand out well beyond like how they look. Just even if they got a whole bunch of tattoos and they're just rocking the casual gear, if you can have a conversation with them and you can sit with them and talk to them for about 20, 30 minutes about anything, and you're able to keep a really good logical conversation and really learn something, and for me that does it right there. That does it for me right there. If I can sit and talk to someone and I learn something new about you from that conversation, and develop more of a respect for you after that conversation, for me that carries the entire game plan for the individual, as far as like what they have in store for them. So yeah, for me, I feel like the person really kind of carries, like, they can look however they want to, but the person and their action is ultimately gonna should honestly carry them throughout. So, it's just
But like I said, when you have the history like Whitlock does, that's where the racism plays a role. Because when it's
exactly.
different groups of races or people, I don't see him attacking. And it is pretty blunt and it's pretty obvious. And with it, Champ, like I said before, you've said it, your worst fear is for anyone to compare you, analogize you to Jason Whitlock. I'll say it again. That is something that I don't think you have to be concerned or fair about. Do I agree with you with a lot of things? No, I don't. But unlike Jason Whitlock, you have integrity. You are fair. You do the research. You don't sit there and bash and attack people Think of the things he has said about women, whether reporters, athletes, Shakari Richardson, Angel Reese, so much more. He's known for saying all this stuff, and it only benefits him because he knows there's nothing else in his life that's relevant or significant. The only reason why he's saying all this stuff, not only because he believes it, is because it's his way of paying the bills. It's his way of remaining relevant. And I just think it's just a joke, and this is why we should not pay any attention to what Jason Whitlock has to say. I just don't take him seriously. And who should? In my opinion, who should really take Jason Whitlock seriously? Because when you listen to the things that he has said, given his history, how can we find you credible?
Exactly.
I think the only thing I ever agreed with him saying was, I think this was like the only take. And I wouldn't even say his name when he first said that.
The Jokic and Embiid thing?
Jokic and the Joel Embiid situation. That was it. He said Jokic's name should be the process and Embiid's name should be the Joker. That was the only take that I really agreed. And that was the only take, that held up to this day, because even back then I agreed with it because, to me, to be honest with you, I always felt like, especially because of his injuries, that he was always going to be held back as far as Embiid was concerned. I didn't really think that about Jokic at his peak. But that was the only take I could. But I will say this. I'll say this in closing. I think if people, much like Mr. Whitlock, would think about substance over hot takes, I think that sports in general would be better. If you use your knowledge for the greater good, because when you make criticisms that's fair, people know it's fair. When you make criticism and people know that you just pulling stuff out of your behind just to get rage, then that's a whole nother ballgame. But I really think that if you use your credibility the correct way and use your hot takes for the correct way, it will do a hell of a lot more good. That's just my humble opinion about how you should conduct yourself as a journalist. I think hot takes is killing sports because it's just a bunch of rage bait going on now. It's just a lot of, hey, this is going on, a lot of biasness that's going on, a lot of media narrative. There really no facts to back it up. Because outside of that one take, what take has he had in order to prove it to be correct?
And again, champ, no one is going to take him seriously. No one is going to really take him no one's really going to take him seriously. They're going to take his word with a grain of salt. Because he doesn't do the research, he doesn't do his homework. He claims that other people are lying when in reality he's the one who's lying. Why should anybody really take what Jason Whitlock says seriously? Because everyone knows the stuff that is coming out of his mouth is bullshit. That's why I can't take him seriously. But that was a great conversation.